Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Kmart, and I want to talk about some basketball. And today, we're going to be talking about the Orlando Magic and where the team stands, what the team's going to do now that their star player, Paolo Banchero, is expected to miss some time. So, just to sort of reiterate that point, Paolo Banchero is, as of right now, listed as being out indefinitely. He is scheduled to be reevaluated in 4 to 6 weeks, which means presumably he's going to miss at least that much time. So the Magic are going to have to play without their star player, which is a scenario that they're not really used to. Banchero has missed just 12 games in his first 2 seasons. The Magic have a 4-8 record across those 12 games, and unfortunately, that is sort of a reflection of how the team stands now with Banchero gone. Without him, the team's points, rebounds, assists, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, really most offensive categories are down compared to where they were when he was playing, and they have also lost every game this season that Banchero did not play in. So it really just kind of reiterates how much the Magic built around Paolo Banchero, which is understandable. He's pretty much their star player, and everything kind of runs through him. If you take a look at his stats so far for the campaign, 29 points per game, 8.8 rebounds, 5.6 assists on 49.5% shooting from the field, 34.4% from three. He leads the team, or is tied for the lead, in points, rebounds, and assists, even having missed the last couple of games. He is the highest volume shooter on the team by far, 19.4 field goal attempts per game when he went down. Next highest on the team is Franz Wagner, hovering around 14 and some change in terms of his field goal attempts. Banchero is also responsible for around 45% of the team's free throw attempts in terms of their average as well. So he is a pretty sizable portion of their offense, and now he's down. Now that leads us into the concerns for Orlando. Concern number one is obviously just the pure production from Banchero. The Magic are extremely unlikely to simply be able to get 29 points per game from the rest of their roster to make up the difference. The two sort of primary guys that you would look at to benefit from Banchero being out, Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner, so far have not really been able to step up on the scoring front. When Banchero was playing, those two combined to average 34.6 points per game. So far, with Banchero out, they're combining to average 36.3 points, which technically speaking is higher, but not by a whole lot, right? And obviously not even close to accounting for the 29 points per game that they lose with Banchero inactive. So not fantastic. Meanwhile, you take a look at Banchero's impact on the efficiency front, and you can see he was kind of trying his best to hold up the team. His 49.5% field goal percentage is the third highest on the team, even now with him being out. And even with that being the case, Orlando was still one of the worst teams in the league in terms of its shooting efficiency, and it's only gotten worse. Currently, Orlando is 27th in the league in field goal percentage. They are 29th in the league in 3-point percentage, and subsequently, they are 28th in the league in terms of their points per game. So, Banchero being out takes sort of the central piece out of the Magic offense. So the question is, what do they do? How does it look for them moving forward? The first thing I think the Magic need to do at this point is lean on those secondary guys, right? Guys like Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner, who are the team's second and third leading scorers. They are the most obvious candidates to now get more opportunities with Banchero unavailable. Now, I know I just got done talking about how they had not significantly raised their scoring output, but if you're Orlando, they're still the best options that you have. You have to rely on them anyway, and you have to hope that these first couple of games where their scoring output has not significantly increased are going to be outliers across the total duration of Banchero's injury. You have to hope that they'll sort of pick up the pace and start scoring more to make up the difference as the Magic continue to adjust to not having Banchero on the floor. And in terms of those adjustments, that sort of brings us to a big question here for Orlando. That is, do they play the same or do they attempt to switch things up in terms of their style? The Magic were already a slower offense in terms of their play style, in terms of their pace, so perhaps they continue to play that way. The thought process there would be to lean on the defensive side of the ball. Orlando was 7th in the league in defensive rating when Banchero went down, so there is a possibility of continuing to enforce their slower pace even without Banchero. The risk to that, however, is that a slower pace relies pretty heavily on efficiency. If you're going to slow down the pace of play and, subsequently, lower the total number of sort of field goal attempts and scoring opportunities that both teams get because you're playing slower, that means you need to be more capable of taking advantage of the fewer shot opportunities that you will be receiving as a team. And as I just got through explaining, the Magic are one of the worst teams in the league in terms of that same shooting efficiency that they would have to rely upon. So without the offensive efficiency, the plan to keep the pace slow and rely on your defense could backfire pretty massively. Alternatively, the Magic could attempt to speed things up, right? Instead of Banchero handling the ball for the majority of possessions, because he's now out, you'd have the ball in the hands of guys like Jalen Suggs more, Franz Wagner, Anthony Black off the bench, and the Magic could attempt to play at a sort of faster pace, maybe replace the efficiency that they are lacking in with pure volume, right? Maybe their percentages won't increase massively, but if they're getting more shot opportunities, they might be able to still get the production that they want. Now, the downside of that plan is that the team's defensive stats are almost guaranteed to decline in that scenario, right? The same way, if you slow down the pace, you are limiting the shot opportunities for both teams. If you speed things up, you are therefore very likely increasing the shot opportunities for both teams, not just yourself. So you're sort of stuck between two extremes here. Either play slow and rely on efficiency that doesn't exist, or play fast and potentially not nullify entirely, but diminish the impact of your defense if you choose to do that. So it's tough for Orlando. The one thing that we can be pretty sure of at this point, though, is that the team is worse without Banchero. Right? There's basically no arguing that point. Ever since they drafted him, Orlando has been working to build the team around him. He is the sort of centerpiece of everything that they're trying to do. And the question now is, how long will he be out? And can the Magic survive until his return? Not entirely sure. They're going to have to answer some of the questions that I laid out there. They're going to have to decide what style of play they want with Banchero not there to lead the way. The good news for Orlando is that a couple of the other teams in the East that we were looking at as maybe immediate threats to the Magic are also struggling to find their footing in the early stages of the season here, right? For example, the Philadelphia 76ers are still attempting to have all of their star players healthy and on the court at the same time. The Milwaukee Bucks are in the middle of a kind of strange implosion. They only really have like one win on the season so far. Teams like the Knicks are still hovering at or maybe slightly above 500. So some of these teams who are expected to really be threats to the Magic, and obviously still will be as the season goes on, haven't gotten off to the best starts themselves. So if you're Orlando, you have a little bit more of a buffer to work with, a little bit more time perhaps to figure out how you are going to adjust to not having Banchero for a while some of these other teams also try to figure things out in the early going. But that's all I got. So let me know what you think. Do you believe Orlando should continue to try and play this slow pace? If they do that, do you believe they can raise their efficiency numbers to actually make that strategy work out for them? On the other side of things, do you believe that they should speed things up? And if they do, can they maintain their sort of defensive numbers, even with a faster pace of play on the offensive end? And who do you think is the most likely guy on the roster to sort of step up here while Banchero is out in terms of increasing their scoring output? Do you think it's going to be one of those two main guys I mentioned, Suggs or Franz Wagner, or do you think they could look elsewhere? Do you think it could be Anthony Black off the bench? Do you think Contavious Caldwell-Pope sort of finally gets himself going in terms of his scoring output? Or is it just no one? Do the Magic just sort of struggle and rapidly sort of try to survive as best as they can until Banchero returns, with no one really stepping into that role? Either way, please feel free to let me know what you think. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching, and I will talk to you later.